Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, everyone, to this All Things REI Windsor Re-Up episode 19, Jeremy. This is episode 19 that we've done so far.
Wow,
Yeah, we're getting up
I
there.
can't
We're
believe
getting
it.
up there. Yeah, tonight, guys, we're going to talk about some news relating to Windsor, Ontario, and the real estate market and the economy around us and what's going on, boots on the ground. And then Jeremy's going to actually get into some market stats. So looking forward to that as well for the previous month to see kind of where we're at. And I know there's a lot of uncertainty. So looking forward, Jeremy, to hearing your expertise and just figuring out where we're at with all that's going on in the world. So, but first, Jeremy, what's going on? What's new? It's been a month since we did our previous episode. Anything going on in your life or in the real estate market for you?
Oh, it is it's been interesting times. Obviously, we'll be talking about the numbers and it'll be surprising. I think not surprising to many, but compared to what we're normally used to, it's a different norm. Um, it's a kangaroo market. That's a new word I've just learned that because it's just going up and down like
The
a
yo-yo,
bunny
the
hop
mark.
sort
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
One time we're in the
So
red,
we had
and
our
then at
craziest
lunchtime we're
market.
spiking in the green.
So, interesting times to kind of give you an idea. We're going through this tariffs right now. Um, I'm part of the board that is doing a condominium renovation. And when you're dealing with a project that is taxing around $1.1 million, just over that actually,
Mm.
um, it adds up, right? And especially when you start talking tariffs on textiles like carpets, because the carpets, I
Oh,
learned that majority of carpets are based out of Georgia. So
really?
if you didn't know that,
I
most
thought
of
that
your
had been a
carpets
China
are from.
thing. Interesting.
I thought so too as well, but I guess Georgia's the place for commercial, at least commercial grade carpets or most carpets there. So besides that, we've been working heavily on this condo renovation. I've thrown out a few offers on some properties as well,
Mm-hmm.
um, hoping to see if something sticks possibly tomorrow. Few
Fingers
backup
crossed.
ones as well. Yeah, some off market stuff. Price point wise, here's my thought process. We're still, people are kind of still pushing for higher numbers, but they're not getting it. So,
Mm.
I had to have a conversation with one of my sellers, and I'm letting him know, hey, in a multifamily market, here's like 41 listings on the market for duplexes, and we have some sale like some properties that have been on the market for over a year.
Right.
Maybe they've been relisted a few times, but they've been on the market or they've been listed at least for close to or over a year,
Yeah, you're
which
playing
is
that
crazy to
game,
think
trying
about.
to get a bidding war. You're also trying to then do as like buyer ready. It's
One
and nothing's
property I
working,
looked
eh?
at had been like listed and relisted probably close to 20 times. It's
Wow,
crazy. So,
that's too bad.
um, definitely a unique time for sure. How are you seeing the market?
Honestly, I'm seeing the market kind of going up and down, like you're saying. It's still like everyone. I think everyone's noticing this, at least in the Windsor market in Essex County. All those starter homes are still flying off the shelves, but then it's that mid range that just keeps sitting. And then I guess like you're talking to the multifamily, like the duplex, triplex, those aren't selling necessarily
It's
as
hard.
as
It's hard to
fast.
cash flow right now, and especially with rates. I mean, when the tariffs first were going up,
Hmm.
rates were coming down, even fixed rates. To kind of give you an idea, for my mixed use condominium building, I think we talked about this on the not condominium, mixed use, because I was talking about condos, mixed use multifamily duplex that I have, right? With
Hmm.
the commercial unit and then the residential property. Originally going back 2 months, I was at about 6.2% commercial mortgage. I just relocked in at like last maybe a couple days ago at 5.7.
Hmm.
And I think today they're at 5.9. So they're going up, they're going down, going back up again. So that's for fixed rates. Variables with if the tariffs continue, I'm assuming we're going to see another rate decrease soon, potentially a few more
They're
this year.
signaling
So
that, but yeah, there's no guarantee. We'll have to see what happens in 90 days, whatever Trump does.
hey, you
It's
know
all a big
what?
game of
I
poker.
mean, it's was it the
Part of the deal.
part of the deal, man. They basically talked about how you have to play it right at the most extreme to try to negotiate downwards. I mean, he's saying that people are making fun of him because he's golfing, but in between like holes or in between shots, there's like videos of him like talking to world leaders
Yeah,
while on the
taking
golf
calls with
course.
Putin or Mexico or whatever else.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only
Yeah.
person I think that's not getting the tariffs like that's still getting the tariffs on right now is China, right? And that's crazy to see.
Hmm.
Um, and it's very interesting because obviously, I mean, the United States is a world power. China's technically a world power. If you were to think numbers, I think China would be the second most powerful country in the world, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so.
So, this could go one of two ways. I mean, neither of us are. This is not our backgrounds. However, they're talking about either them trying to having to produce um they're either going to start building bigger factories and producing a hell of a lot more stuff, or there's talks about some investors having to take their stuff and go to the next biggest area, which I think would be India.
Hmm.
And then I think India is playing ball because they won all the contracts, right?
I've heard similar. Yeah, China isn't actually as affordable as you might think nowadays. I guess their middle class has grown, and so therefore they actually their labor cost has risen, and that's why even I think it's BYD, that car company, they're trying to make plants in Mexico because then they can ship and do all their stuff in the states. I think it's twofold, partially because of the trade agreements, but also because Mexican labor is cheaper than China now, which is crazy to think. So you're right. We'll have to see how the markets do, and then obviously that'll affect rates. But like you would say, and I say as well, if you want to get in the market, don't necessarily sit on the sidelines for all this uncertainty. It's better to be in the market because you're not going to time this. Clearly, like who could have timed this kind of roller coaster spikes up and down? Honestly.
I mean, yeah, it's the thing. We're just trying to bring things back down to normal. I believe Trump's been kind of pushing that he wants the narrative has always been, for the working class.
Hmm.
And people are making a big deal about long-term investments, obviously older folks, but they've been in the market for, a long period of time. But obviously it's hurting, especially people like my parents who are retirement age. I asked them, I said, are you even making any notice? They're like, no, because we're not ready to cash out yet. So for
Mm-hmm.
most people, they're letting it ride out. But for the average person like yourself or myself, if I'm invested into a TFSA or RSP, I haven't really sold anything. The reason being is it's a long-term game, right?
Yeah, you're in no
So
rush. Yeah, you don't need to draw from that stuff.
yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
not. So I think talking about tariffs, though, I think one of our first articles
Yes.
is about tariffs.
Let's get into that here. Uh, Boom. So, as a result of the tariffs, I think people probably heard if you are a local Windsorite, the Stellantis plant shut down, and so this is a bit of a this title's a little misleading. Yes, they did shut down, but it was pre-planned, right, Jeremy? I didn't even realize this
That's
until you
what I heard from
mentioned.
people. I've heard from a few people that it was like a sort of almost a pre-plan. It almost worked in perfectly. They had to do a shutdown. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard from people. I personally don't work there, so I'm going off of what I've heard from other people. But I
Hmm.
guess there was a shutdown plan to do some revamping, and it
Yeah,
just
some retooling.
lined up. That's been kind of it could be just a cover up, but obviously, I mean, we are being affected. But what are we building here? Like the question comes down where we're building the electric chargers, and I mean, to be honest with you,
They're
it's an
selling like
interesting,
hotcakes. Oh wait, nope.
right? I don't
It's
know. I
unfortunate
mean,
they're not. They're really not. Uh,
I know people working at Fords, and they're busy.
mhm.
So,
I think
um,
certain OEMs are doing better than others, and I don't even know that you can call Stellantis part of the big three anymore because Stellantis is being beat out by even Toyota or Hyundai in
it's
car
not
sales.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not their fault. Unfortunately, they had a terrible leader that
the
cared about
CEO.
his other companies before, like the European companies. Now they have ever since the merger, we're wondering how does that affect us, right? Because
Hmm.
we're secondary market to them at this point. And they haven't been doing remodels. I mean, the Jeeps have been pretty much the only things to kind of be moving. I mean,
Yeah, that and their Rams. That's
uh,
about it.
well, the Rams are like the number one most sitting car, our truck. I think over 1,000 days on market. Like when I was watching things when it was first crashing, like the Rams don't sell as well. Like the
Oh,
number one selling truck is F-150, and then I think it goes
and
the
then GM.
GMC, yeah,
Okay. I thought
Silverado.
the Rams would still bring in some, but again, I'm not a car guy. Interesting. Interesting.
I don't know enough, yeah, unfortunately, but it's
We're real
very, very
estate guys. What do
interesting.
we know?
Do you mind maybe scrolling down a little bit?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just see
sure.
what the article says for the people there.
Let me zoom that in
Unit
for you
calls it
too.
devastating. So, Stellantis has confirmed.
Yeah, and they're going to be shutting
We
down
shut down for the weeks of April 7th to 14th, and then
just after the Easter
resumed.
comeback, it looks like.
Yeah. The automaker is also pausing production at its Toluca factory in Mexico for the month of April and temporarily laying off
Hmm.
900 workers in Michigan and Indiana. Very, very interesting. So, I mean, here's the thing. They're laying off 900 people in Michigan and Indiana. So, I mean, is it tariffs? I don't know.
I think it's yeah, they lined it up thinking thinking this could be a good time if anything because it is slower anyhow. Why not when it is
It's
slow stop the line rather than stop the line when you're in full production.
it's a great thing I mean, just to throw it under someone else, throw someone else on the bus, right?
Yeah.
So
People
I
love to
could
have
see it
someone to
being that
blame,
way. I
yeah.
mean, obviously that's the thing. It's just like we're not built. If we were building Jeep Wranglers or something like that, then I would be a little bit more worried. But we're not building. I don't think anything super crazy here. But the issue that comes down to is we have a lot of really great um, uh, secondary plants, right? The
Yeah, a lot
feeder
of feeder
plants,
plants, a lot of first tier,
which
second
I hope
tier.
I pray for all the best for those workers there. If hopefully they're not affected, but
Hmm.
yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of good workers in general
If that
in
happens,
Windsor.
then it's going to be a big domino effect here in Essex County. That's for sure. But on a lighter note, I'll show you this one. I just flashed this to you earlier.
Nth group.
Oops. This. The Minth Group announces a Windsor plant. So the Minth Group is actually a manufacturing plant. I think they're basically like a tier one supplier. So they would be supplying the OEMs in the manufacturing plants, and they're actually investing about $300 million into this building. So this is going to be a big area. It's saying what is it? Almost 400,000 square feet, almost, which is ridiculous, and that's going to be on Cabana.
So they're going to be doing plastic components for electric and hybrid vehicle battery trays, structures, and exterior
Mm.
trim. Yeah. So
Battery
yeah,
trays are key, especially
feeder
like
plant.
you want to build those in North America because I've heard through some friends when you're building them in China and have to ship them overseas and back and forth, then it's not the greatest. So that's good to have some control locally here.
Absolutely. And I
But
mean, I don't think people realize that. They just assume that a lot of the feeder plants too are focused heavily on like Fords, Chryslers, and possibly GM.
hmm
But I was just talking to a lady today, or possibly even yesterday, I think, and she was mentioning to me that her son works for a feeder plant here. I'm like, oh, like was it like Fords, Chrysler? She's like, no, he's not gonna be affected because the company he works for is their number one consumer is Volkswagen,
oh wow,
and it's out
okay,
of Germany. So she goes, they do all the designs here, right? And then they have a trade agreement, I guess, or something. And maybe not free trade, but they have a trade agreement with Canada and Germany there. So they do a lot of their stuff here, maybe for just to test out the Canadian and American markets. But it's yeah, we have a lot of plants that cater to BMW, obviously Volkswagen.
hmm
Um,
one stop
I
shop
think
here in Essex County.
yeah, we have a new plant I think opening up soon too as well for one of the big car like a exotic car company or something like that. So
We have a
they
lot of
do
things actually.
the
When
I
you
think
when you
Porsche I got like
sorry, go ahead.
I think it's like Porsche or something like that. I want to say it's Porsche that has it's not like a service facility here.
Oh wow,
So I think so. I remember reading the article way back in the day, but yeah, very, very interesting.
definitely.
A lot of the automotive companies they have feeder plants in the Windsor area.
A lot of job creation too. So it's nice to see. We have all these buildings popping up. So it just goes to
Mhm.
show that Windsor is being put on the map and we are expanding.
Three
And
hundred
even,
million dollars is great.
yeah, in
Hold on.
5 to 10 years from now, I think Windsor's going to be unrecognizable, honestly.
And this company right here is no small task. It says right there with a workforce of over 25,000 employees distributed across 4 business units and 77 global plant offices.
Wow.
They span 3 continents in 14 countries.
And they're going to
Of
be
course,
adding
yeah.
1,100 jobs in addition
So
to those 25,000.
Rosati Construction right now is the design builder. Rosati makes sense. They do a lot of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. This will leverage the Rosati Fast Track. Go back up.
sorry.
Fast Track program, an approach that allows construction to begin while design is still in process. Very interesting. So this
Indeed.
method accelerates approvals and shortens project timelines, ensuring efficient delivery.
Hmm.
It sounds like someone used ChatGPT for this.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I wonder with this fast track program, if we could have this
Can we
for our
Google
new
this?
builds, if we could have that, sorry, the fast track.
Can we Google this? Yeah, this Rosati Fast Track program.
Uh,
Yeah, right there. Just bring that up. Perfect. Right off the main website.
Keys to fast tracking multiple industrial projects. Here, hopefully this is zoomed in enough for you guys. Um, Windsor Essex County industrial sector is very active. We know that. That's what they're saying. I'm just reading this out loud. Um,
Great Cotulla mold, 16,000 square
so
foot
they're
to
talking
stainless
about
facility.
their different projects. It looks like on what they are currently working on, and it seems like
Can you
doing
scroll down a bit?
they're doing pre-concepts. So they're working with the manufacturers and designing the stuff before it's
34,000
actually
square feet. Yeah.
needing to be done. So it's almost like an early engagement in
And I
development.
think the government wants to do something similar for residential houses. So they're going to give you like a here's 10 pre-designed houses. And as long as you stay within these pre-designed houses, you'll be able to build it on these type of lots.
You can
So if you have a
slap them
30 by
down.
100 foot lot, give or take a bit, you can build this house. If
Hmm.
you have a 45-foot lot frontage by
Yeah, the
100,
cookie
you can
cutter.
build this type of
Yep.
house. Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't like to talk too much about politics here, but what was it? Carney just announced he wants to really push was it the modular homes? And basically that's going to be the new thing for everyone. We're going to be
So we living in
building and living in modular homes.
modular homes. I'm just picturing the freight containers, just like,
It pretty much
or
is,
like
right? And I
maybe more like
funny,
pre-built small ADUs on a slab of concrete and call it a day, 500 square feet.
you know what? Funny enough, his comp so Brook was it Brookfield, right?
Yeah.
They went out just before. I don't know if he just before he bought or something like that, but there was a I read a Google article and I assume this is true, but once again, it's an article I read
Yeah.
where his his companies like the Brookfield there, the company he used to work for, owns like a multi-billion-dollar modular home construction, like modular building company. So
Oh,
of
how
course,
convenient.
yeah, absolutely, right? Double dip. It's
Yeah.
just like when we have the he doesn't like Canadian oil because his company's invested in foreign oil.
Yeah, all over the
Lovely.
globe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if his Chinese friends also have some modular homes that they want to sell us.
So,
Oh boy,
all
there's
right.
so
So
many conflicts
that's
of
an interesting
interest.
thing. Rosati Design Build Program.
Yeah. I was
That's
thinking more that they had like maybe the fast track with the city itself, but it sounds like they're
it
just more
seems
doing development ahead of time so that they can have the complete package to almost
well,
push
they
to the
probably know
city.
they could already build it, right? So they're probably doing just enough where they don't have where the city allows them to do that, and then they just can't like finish it off until everything's been done.
Mm. That makes sense too,
That's
because
interesting.
they have a track record and I'm sure they have connections that the trust there
They
that they'll
built
do it
enough,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the last one here. So speaking of politics, everyone loves that, and
Oh,
we try not to talk about it too much. But Paulie have made a crazy
here.
announcement. How about you dive in this one, Jeremy?
Oh, this is an interesting one. So this is basically what they're saying is potentially could be our 1031 exchange.
Maybe you need to
Um,
explain to people, by the way, what a 1031 exchange is, because I bet there might be
okay,
people who don't realize it.
off the top of my head here, I'm gonna say that
Just high
having
level.
watched enough American real estate TV shows, from what I gathered about it, is you own a property, right, Tom?
Yep.
Um, and you want to sell it. So the issue we have right now in Canada is that you own this property, you want to sell it, but you don't want to pay capital gains. So you hold it because you could have, like I say, $1 million in equity and it's going to be taxed when you go to sell it. And you don't necessarily need that money today.
Hmm.
So what you could do is buy in the States, as long as you basically sell that asset off and purchase another like in the States it would be Americans, but in this case right here, another Canadian asset. So say you sell one house and quickly within so many amount of months or
Yeah.
so many amount
Usually,
of
I think it's a
days.
year. Or
Yeah,
yes.
I've heard like 6 months. I don't know if they have it, if they mentioned exactly the timeline here. But look at this right here, the landscape. Today, if a Canadian, right here, the first line.
Strict on
Today, if a
45
Canadian
days.
sells a property that is not deemed to be, sorry, it goes,
Oh,
uh,
did I scroll too far for you?
perfect. Yeah. So go back up a little bit. So today, if a Canadian sells a property that is not deemed to be their primary residence, they are immediately on the hook for capital gains. Currently, 50% of the capital gains are taxed.
Hmm.
So in this sense here, if we scroll back down to the last page, like the last point you were just at, strict timelines. Investors have 45 days to identify potential replacement properties. So they would have to sell one property and then quickly buy another property. And then they can tax defer that to that sale. So the example here is really actually pretty good. Imagine an investor sells a commercial building for $1 million, realizing a $200,000 capital gain. By utilizing a 1031 exchange to purchase another commercial property worth 1.2 million, the investor defers paying capital gains taxes, allowing the full $1 million to be reinvested.
That's
This
huge.
mechanism has been instrumental in US real estate markets, encouraging continuous reinvestment and stimulating the economic activity within the sector. So for people like that flip houses, this is a great thing because the worst thing we have to do is put money away for taxes. But if I can continue to flip houses every year after year after year, I can take that and continue to buy more real estate. So I could buy two houses and then sell those off and continue to buy more with with the sales proceeds,
Good
right?
point.
And then take some of that sales proceeds. And basically, I think what they're saying is that you can't really, for example, if I what I would kind of get from this, and quote me if I once again we'll have to look and see if I'm wrong about this, but you can't get all that money back. For example, like I said, you have to take that $1 million and reinvest it.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
has to
can't
be
just hold in your hand like a refinance.
agreed. Yeah, it's saying
So
you have to dump it right back in. Only concern is I hope, especially when you get into the bigger multifamily space and you're trying to sell off multifamily, sometimes those acquisitions take way longer than 180 days. Sometimes people are going back and forth trying to make a deal. So either that'll
some
cause good
commercial
sense of
properties in Windsor could take almost a year to sell. Like I've seen some businesses pretty much like conditions is conditional period for almost a year because there's we have to do
due diligence and
phase ones, phase
yeah,
twos,
environmentals and
yeah.
yeah, all that stuff studies. So that might need to be bumped up, and or maybe in certain situations, maybe that's I don't know. For example, for residential homes, maybe there's a separate commercial one that the conservators could come out with where there's a bit more of a grace period.
I
I'd
don't
hope
think
so.
it does it say that you have to close them or you just have to lock something up,
It
complete
says
the
identify,
acquisition. Oh,
and then
complete it. Yeah.
180 days to complete
You have three
acquisition.
months
So
to buy.
that's great. What you're saying for flippers for sure. But if
Mhm.
let's say you're trying to sell a 20 unit building, not that we've done that had to do that yet, but I feel like that might take a long time. Or like you said, commercial buildings, then you're probably going to be sweating bullets. Or
I can
maybe
see the
you'll have
commercials. I mean, it'd be more like I would say a gas station, stuff
right
that like potentially had oil leaks into it,
more like
potentially
yeah.
anything like what do you call it? The agricultural farms and all that kind of stuff because you don't want to take a look at the soil.
You don't want to take
Um,
a risk.
Yeah, I think with apartment buildings is pretty much is pretty fair because like the appraisers that come in there, they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, do we need every time I bought commercial, once again, I'm not buying massive commercial
One
buildings here,
day,
but
one day.
one day for sure, right? But the the environmentals that we have to do, they're so simple because if it's purpose built and it's not 100 million years old, like some of our duplexes and stuff are, from 1900s, but majority of the, let's call it a purpose built 12, 24 unit buildings and stuff like that we have, they're
Hmm.
built in like the 70s, right? So most of them that I've seen on the market, but basically those ones, it's fairly simple because it's purpose built. Nothing's been used on that type of property, right? Or
Right,
it
right.
hasn't changed use.
One thing to add to what we were just talking about, and
Hmm.
I might be interpreting this incorrectly, but uh, he's also talking in here. Pierre brought up the fact that he has this Canadian or Canada First reinvestment tax cut, so you can defer capital gains taxes. So I think that's a little bit different than his previous 1031 exchange, let's call it, proposal. This one here is more supporting for businesses specifically. So maybe like when you do buy that gas station or that commercial property, that's where this would come into effect
This is great.
because
I
it's
like it.
saying um, you would defer capital gains taxes if you reinvest the proceeds into active Canadian businesses or properties. The deferred gains would be taxed when investors eventually cash out or move the funds out of Canada. So, I wonder if this maybe is for supposed to be for
It
bigger
just
bigger
says that they
corporations.
don't want the move, they don't want your money going to Cleveland or Detroit, buddy. They want
Right,
your
right.
money staying
They
here.
I see.
So it actually leads into another thing I heard about once again from what he's planning on doing is increasing the TFSA, I believe, by an additional $5,000 top up per
Hmm.
year. What that would allow you to do is as long as you buy Canadian stocks. So once again, if you're an investor of stocks, like myself, I can't buy Apple or Bell, sorry, not Disney or Tesla, but as long as I buy maybe Bell or Enbridge, or maybe I buy the
I like Enbridge.
one of the TSX stocks or whatever, right? I could be able to top up my TFSA by an additional $5,000, which is really, really great.
It's not bad.
And then I don't know how long those have to be held in there for, because like, what if I been doing it for 5 years and then I want to sell some stock to buy some American stock? Am I uh, uneligible now to top it up for another $5,000 if I want to buy, let's say, Tesla or Apple? I don't know necessarily how it works.
Hmm.
But I'm also wondering too is if you can, because I know that you can move money from your RRSP into like Olympia Trust.
Yep.
But
That
I'm wondering, could
third
you do
party
that with
kind of.
yeah, could you? I think you could probably do that with a TFSA too, right?
You may or may not be
Potentially.
able to. I know
That's
I
something we have
was
to look
talking to
into.
my
I
dad
have
about this, and he has a TFSA, and he is looking to use it into like some new builds.
TFSA Olympia Trust, which is one of the few companies that do this kind of stuff. Um, can you?
Yeah, while you're looking that up, um, I'm just gonna scroll through the rest of this article because I think
I don't think so. It says, I'm reading an article by the Financial Post from 2017. Bank's dirty little secret. You can hold your mortgage in your RSP, but is it worth the trouble? And this is from 2017. It's like, for some people it was,
hmm,
because people learned about that.
one
So I
last thing.
don't think you can.
Oh,
So if anyone knows more, let us know.
yeah, please
It's
do.
an art.
It sound
Yeah, I've done Olympia Trust myself, but only for our RSPs. So
mm, one last thing to note about this. This only looks like it's good till December 31st, 2026. So he's doing this almost like a trial test phase, assuming he gets in and he can actually
and this is for the
put this into
tax
effect.
cut. This is not the 1031.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. You're right. Just
Hold
for
on.
tax cut.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. Well, should we get in the market stats?
Yes, do it.
Let's see what we got here. Lead us through this.
All right. So, welcome to the March 2025 edition of our Windsor Stats. What do we have for you today? Well, we're looking at a very, very interesting time right now, as I mentioned earlier. So, Tom, do we want to start maybe with the top here and then work our way down? Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the second option I was thinking in my head. We're going to start where it says residential in brackets, market activity comparison. This is the one I like to use the most. This gives us the most accurate kind of breakdown
I think this is the most
comparing
digestible
this
too
year.
for the audience
Yeah, and this
because
breaks it down by month and year, which is really, really great, and compares it to last year. So to kind of give you an idea, um, we are looking at listings first. We have 1,020 listings for the month of March compared to last year's at 843. That's a 21% increase. Who's that great for? Well, it's great for buyers. We're so used for the last so long to be in a seller's market. Buyers now have options to 21% of new listings are on the market. But how is that compared to our sales? Our sales need to catch up by pretty much the same amount to keep up with it.
hmm,
Well, how about our sales? Last month, we had 342 sales compared to 440 last year for a negative 22.27%. What does that mean? It means that for every almost three listings, just over three listings, we have one sale.
wow,
That's terrible.
yeah, it's nothing's moving right now in the market.
Like look at the year before. It's almost a 2-to-1. So we're getting, yeah, that's not very good.
That
Not good at
that
all.
kind of goes back to
So
saying what you said earlier, how some people are relisting for the past year, still not getting any sales, no activity.
mhm. There's a lot more, and that's the thing is people are like, oh, well, my price is competitive. Your price might be competitive now, but when there's 21% of new more listings than there was,
People have
that's not good.
options. Yeah, people
People
have
have options,
options,
right?
and
And you
they're
never
being
want to get
picky
stuck.
choosy.
You don't want to get stuck chasing the market down, because I saw a duplex that was listed last year, I think for like 599, and the seller, slowly over the course of time worked its way down, and that duplex just sold, I think, yesterday for like 440.
Oh,
So,
yikes.
almost $107,000 off. Was that duplex worth 600,000 or 599? Probably not, because obviously it worked its way down. But could they have gotten maybe 440? We'll never know. But it makes you kind of think, for some people that are holding off, waiting for a something to change, do we think, looking at these numbers here, that we're gonna skyrocket and prices are gonna go to the moon again? It doesn't look like it, because we have so many more listings, and these are like there's a lot,
Hmm.
right? So the average sale right now, this is an interesting one right here. The average sale for March, $583,182 compared to 566, 527. So good for sellers. The average price has increased. Does it though? Because the issue is we still have homes selling in the $1 million plus market. But the issue is the less sales that we have, those numbers can get skewed a lot easier.
So
So
are
when we
you?
had 100 more listings, that's 100 more listings that could have been at 200, 400, 600, 800, everything in between. But because we're having less sales, our average prices could be skewed. But to kind of give you an idea, that seeing that still within that range of 20,000 or so, it's probably pretty fair. Obviously, we still had 342 sales, and then the median sale. So the kind of get an idea of what Windsor is kind of sitting at, which what seems to be the most is around 516,
Yeah, that makes sense.
121 compared to 539, 500. So we're actually down on the median price of homes. So that means, once again, the numbers are a little bit more skewed. You might have a little bit more homes selling for less than 516,000 compared to more than
Mm.
516,000.
So extrapolating this out to next month, to later on, further through spring and into the summer, are you going to see this improve? Are we going to still see a
Well, here's the
stagnant
thing.
kind of market?
Our weather has been shit. I mean, it was cold in March, it's cold in April right now.
Hmm.
People are waiting for the nice spring weather. The spring weather hasn't come by yet.
Right.
Once the spring weather comes and people can advertise, hey, I got a beautiful pool, take a look at my beautiful garden or my
Just patio or
flowers,
whatever else. Yeah,
right? Yeah. Well, how many more listings are we going to get?
a lot more. So that's going to also flood the market. Do you think that's going to help
Flood
or
the
hurt
market
us?
even
You
more.
know?
Well, it's great for buyers, right?
Mm.
So as an investor, I've always told people, it doesn't matter when you buy. It matters about what your numbers are. Like, you'll buy a property based off of your numbers, and you're gonna have it. Like, if your goal is not to sell the property and your goal is to make money, then buying the property, you're buying it based off of your numbers, right?
Right.
So now you start looking at this and go, wait a second, am I having less competition now? Is there a way I can maybe buy some of these residential homes in great neighborhoods, in A neighborhoods or B neighborhoods, where originally a raised ranch was going for $900,000 in South Windsor, and
Right.
now that raised ranch is maybe selling for $600,000? Can I then duplex it or do an ADU and get top dollar? Or it may be because some people are like, oh, I'll just speculate and break even. Well, guess what? You can now speculate, maybe make some money, maybe break even again, and you're in A neighborhood. You're not buying some crappy duplex in the West End or downtown.
Hmm.
You're going to get yourself A plus neighborhood. So eventually, 10 years down the road, if the market goes up by then, you might be able to speculate a bit more.
You're
Or
laughing.
you're just going to know you're going to have better tenants, because now we still have backups with the landlord tenant board. It's not hasn't gotten better yet.
No.
So if I were an investor, what would I be looking for? Well, I don't want to deal with low quality tenants. I've had some people, even with the student rental market, have told me that in areas that we're normally renting out to um, basically some of the international students, like Bridge Avenue and stuff like that. Well,
Hmm.
those international students are now gone, right? Because the visas weren't renewed. Well, if that was your target market and you're used to making 3 grand a month, who are you renting out that property to now? because
And
your target market was not, normal
normal
average guys,
working people.
girls from Canada, right?
Hmm.
Now you're going to be targeting the low quality just to get your
Right.
numbers to work again.
And those people
That's
paying
not good.
3,000 aren't going to be buying or aren't going to be renting on bridge.
No.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to most likely split the units up there. If there's potential to split the basement up, you're going to probably get low quality ODSP clientele that, hey, I'll give you $3,000 a month for a couple months before I go to take you to landlord tenant board court without money.
Hmm.
But that's going to be the only way to kind of make your numbers. So I'd advise, if I were to advise a client right now, what I would do is focus in on the best locations possible. That's still going to be your Walkerville area for multifamily.
Hmm.
That's going to be your South Windsor. But with South Windsor, please note that you do have to have a rental license because it does fall in Wards 1. You have areas like LaSalle, Tecumseh area where you can get yourself a nice single family home and then potentially do an ADU. Um, and you're once again you're buying in good neighborhoods, and if you get the right price point, you could probably do a cash out refinance, maybe not perfectly because this is not the market we're gonna burr out completely, but you can get yourself maybe a $500,000 property with 60 to $80,000 in
That's not too
and
bad.
cash flow.
That's not too bad. Yeah. Especially if
So
you're playing the
because
long game.
well, when I started as a realtor, majority of my clientele were not doing the burst strategy. It was like, hey, I've come by some money. I want a long-term investment, and I'll grow as I grow. Now it's like, hey, I need to get a property to cash flow so I can grow. But the issue is that when you're over leveraged, it hurts you too as well. You don't want to be over leveraged to a certain degree. That's how we got burned. But maybe now is a time where you can start being a little bit more leveraged, getting a property in a prime location. Whether or not we're at the bottom, it'll all depend on what happens with these tariffs. I mean, there's talks of recession, there's talks of depression. No one knows nothing. If we had a crystal ball, we'd all be millionaires.
I wish we had a crystal ball, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So that's my thought process there. And I guess we can kind of go over a few other things. The most popular style of home is a bungalow, 91 sales. So lots of ranch homes. I mean, ranch is number 4, but to be honest with you, the difference between a ranch and a bungalow, they're really basically the same thing. The issue comes down to the stairs at the exterior of the house. So a bungalow is your typical like 1960s, single story home, but you have to go up a set of 4 or 5 sets of stairs, and you would have a small little front porch,
Hmm.
and that is a bungalow compared to a ranch where you might have a step, and maybe you have or even just have a small little porch, then you enter your house. Um, so you're not going really up. Kind of like if you look at a raised ranch, which is actually number 5, you have literally one step and then you're at the front door. And then inside the house, you have a
It's
few
split
steps
level
going
then.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one step compared to maybe with a bungalow, a few more steps in 1 or 2. 1.5 story, which is your typical copy and paste from the wartime style homes, 47 sales. And if you look at the numbers here, bungalow 506 to 288. So if you were to ask me, where can I get a $500,000 bungalow? I would tell you South Windsor, East Windsor, LaSalle. That's why they're $506,000. Those bungalows are in nice neighborhoods, and they're only around 900 to 1,100 square feet. They're not very, very big for $500,000.
Mm.
1.5 story at 437. Those are going to put you in areas like East Windsor, the old Riverside, East Windsor area, just off of kind of like Paulette Central area. 2 story, 46 sales at 737,000. You're gonna find a 2 story once again, South Windsor, East Windsor, LaSalle. Ranch, 41 sales, 759,000. Well, you can notice that it's a lot more expensive than a bungalow. These are newer style homes within probably the last 20 to 30 years.
Hmm.
Especially at 760, you're pretty much going to be talking a newer style ranch. You're going to find these in, once again, South Windsor, LaSalle, East Windsor, Tecumseh
Tecumseh. Yeah.
areas. Yeah. And then ranch, sorry, not raised ranch. That's your copy and paste home from the last 20 something years. We had 30 sales, which I'm always surprised to see raised ranches always near the end of the list. It makes no sense to me because there's so many of them. I always see, like, whenever I was taking clients through a house, it was always mostly raised ranches because that was like your typical home.
I
But
wonder if it's because a lot
six,
of these listings aren't raised ranches. Everyone's holding on to them, wanting to live in them. No one wants to
they're
sell
good
them.
for fit. Well, they're a great price point. I mean, they're cheaper than a ranch and they're cheaper than a two-story,
It's like
and
that
they're
sweet
usually
spot.
bigger than a ranch and bigger than well, smaller than a two-story, but bigger than a ranch.
Mm,
And what I like about them is that you have the basement height, so you can make a legal unit down there. Um, you can do that with a ranch, but most likely you're not going to get a ranch that has a great entrance. They're more rare than you'd find with a raised ranch. And raised ranch 630, once again, that's going to be your South Windsor, East Windsor. Not Tecumseh, I guess, but there's more like two stories and ranches in Tecumseh. You see it more of it maybe in like South Windsor and East Windsor, and then LaSalle, and obviously into the county as well, but those particular areas.
hmm
So,
Right on.
sales volume, I kind of want to really go over just above the most popular things right here. So, for the sales volume for the month, it was 233.80. Second last one. Oh no,
Oh,
go back
sorry.
up.
Yep.
Yeah, just above most popular home style home. Yeah. No, keep going up. Just go to your far left.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
thought we
right.
we did
Yeah.
have it there. Sorry.
Yeah, perfect. So, sales volume, once again, this is always an indicator of how things are moving. We have for the month $233 million, just under 234, compared to last year at 288. And you got to remember, last year we had a lower sale, $20,000 less on average price home, but we're still about what, $50 million more. And then the year before that, in 2023, which was us coming out of that really bad market crash there,
hmm
294, almost $295 million. So we've been consistently just going down in sales volume. And what people are wondering why. Well, what the issue is, we have house inflation in the sense of we're building every single year, we're building more and more homes. The government's trying to play catch up to these homes. Well, when we're going through the times that we're going through
hmm
and we're building new homes, the supply is becoming more and more prevalent, right? So our sales volume is going to there's more and more options um
for
for
buyers.
buyers now, which means that the house prices will continuously stagnate or stale off because when there's enough homes for everyone, the supply and demand is not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, I'd like to see that graph. Like, where's the intersection point where we
Good question.
eventually
Good question. We're
catch up
finally
and we
playing. We're
have enough.
we're finally even for Windsor, we're finally catching up to what we need to start building again. And then
You
sales
really think
volume year
so,
to
eh?
date.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
So
thought we still
we're
it
still
still
off,
feels
but
like we're behind. You know.
we're on track at this point. We're on track. I mean, the amount of new building. When we were at
I guess we
Ray's
have apartment
Hoops
buildings.
for Real Estate Hoops event,
hmm
we were talking with a gentleman who does a lot of stuff downtown, and there's a lot of development, thousands of units on the way up.
hmm That's a great point. Multiple developers downtown Windsor, on Paulette, all over there.
Well,
Commercial
think
turning
about
into
this. All these
residential, and
guys,
say again.
all these people that bought speculative condos at Stella, which is the Horizons buildings in Forest Glade or LaSalle with Laurier and all these other places that they kind of got timed where the market kind of crashed. And they bought thinking, oh, yeah, the housing market was crazy. But the issue is when 2,000 units hit the market, whether or not they don't even have to be for sale, but because what's going to happen is if you can't sell your house, what do? You rent it out,
You rent
right? Well, now you're competing against a
brand
developer
new
who owns a
condos,
whole building
brand new units.
whose numbers can be less than yours.
Right.
Like to kind of give you an idea, I was just talking to a realtor the other day who was talking about Farhe's development in East Windsor, and he was talking about the penthouse units, which were really, really nice, brand spanking new development on the top floor with water views, pretty much. Even though you're in Forest Glade, but you're so high up, you had
hmm
underground parking, smart features, and a penthouse was like $2,900 a month. Well, if you were to compare that to another, I don't even have brand new buildings, but another building of that kind of quality,
Hmm.
you're competing against people that have to list it for around that price point. So you're talking about East Windsor, sorry, not East Windsor, LaSalle, like the Wyoming condos, which very, very nice builder, very nice quality home, but that's someone just paid $700,000 for that unit. They can't rent it out to you for $2,800. You're going to lose money, but they have to because the competition is saying that the price for that unit is 2,800
So
bucks,
you think we're
2,900
gonna get some
bucks.
deflation in the rents coming up on the
Well,
horizon at least?
just like homeowners have the option to choose, eventually tenants are going to have the option to choose. I mean, this is like kind of like Toronto if you think about it. The issue is that in Toronto they're building a shoebox condo, so you're kind of like, oh, my only option is a 600 square foot condo. But in Windsor, at least right now, you can get a really nice penthouse condo for 2,800 bucks. If you don't want to spend that, you can get yourself probably like 1,000 square foot two-bedroom for 2,500 bucks.
Hmm.
And even get a one bedroom for like 19. An agent at my office offered me a newer one bedroom apartment for like $1,900 a month plus utilities.
Wow.
And those are within within a few years old. I'm not talking about even
Yeah, it's
the
not an old
older
condo.
buildings.
It's just newer.
Yeah, like a colony on the park, which you can kind of rent out for like a two-bedroom rents out for 2,300 inclusive.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
See, that's great. At the same time, it might suck for some people who are just barely treading water as it is with their rents because they bought back in 2022 at the peak, you know? So we're still in for a little bit of pain, it sounds like.
What can I've turned down so many listings this year as well because the fact of it is that I had someone call me the other day. Hey, I bought a triplex. So I looked into it. It's a single family house with 3 units.
Hmm.
I asked about it. He goes, yeah, the city shut down 2 of the units. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Now it's a single family home.
Right.
Well, it could be. I'm like, but is it? The city shut you down. It's not, right? So the gentleman bought it. He did some renovations to it. I mean, when it's 3 units, it was cash flowing. You got a 1.5% mortgage. Who cares?
Hmm.
Now it's like, wait a second, mortgages are, 4.5%. Now you have a single family house, not a triplex. You're not going to get the same price point.
That's a tough spot. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. And he probably doesn't have the
That,
funds then to make it legal either.
well,
Or,
you can't make it legal. I mean, you might be able to
oh,
put a
there's no
unit
way to make that
upstairs,
even
but
legal? Okay.
well,
Jeez, I thought maybe.
that's the issue when the city knows about your property. Like, good luck because they're gonna make sure you do everything by the book because they've already shut you down.
They already screwed you,
Um,
or you already screwed
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
we talk about this quite a bit, even at the office, because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just buy a raised ranch and duplex it." It's like you're not legally duplexing it. And first, second of all, you're illegally doing a rental because first of all, it's an ADU. It's not an ADU. You didn't do the
You didn't pull
proper
the
fire
permits.
resistancy.
Yeah.
Not even the permits. You could probably get away with no permits, but you're doing anyways. But you don't have the proper fire resistant drywall. You don't have the proper insulation.
Yep. The
Like
noise
I mean, you
canceling, all these things.
yeah.
Egress. There's a
Well, you
lot.
also have to split. You don't have to split the meters, but you have to split the heating source. Like you can't share. They can't share heat, right?
They can no longer share
So
heat. Is that new? Is that new rule?
that what I sold one a legal ADU last year, a basement unit. We had this my seller, who's also a real estate investor. They had to close the ductwork on the basement and put heat pumps in.
Wow. Okay. Because when I made my ADU here, and I regret this actually because I would prefer to have separated it. I didn't separate the furnace, and that was fine. But what I had to do is I had to put dampers, and I also did a special duct type smoke detector. So if it did detect smoke, then it just shuts everything down. Uh,
Oh
so
wow.
so they don't get fire throughout the units. It's contained. But maybe that's a new rule. I didn't realize because I made this thing back in 2021.
Yeah, this would have been 2023,
Okay,
2023,
yeah,
I
they
think.
probably
Yeah.
did change because they changed even the ceiling height rule from being 6'8" to being
Six
legal
five.
for 6'5", which is crazy.
Yeah, 6 foot,
With
200
my hair
ductwork,
up
which
like
is
this, I'm
great.
almost I'm almost touching the ceiling. Then it's
Oh
nuts.
God.
But
So, is there anything that I don't think we have any other articles or
I think that's about it. Unless you have
perfect.
any other closing thoughts or things that you want to explain or tell the audience.
I think I do. So, we're thinking about planning our May, our All Things
Good
REI
call.
event,
Good call.
and we are looking for individuals in Windsor or even like some maybe a Toronto investor that has properties or whatever in Windsor. Who's got a good idea for us? Send us a message, either myself or Tom.
Hmm.
We want to showcase possibly your investment property. Give us some suggestions. Your input's always important to us. Tom, do you want to add anything at all?
No, I think that's a great point. We want to have our next meetup in May, so we're still deciding on the location and then obviously the venue. So if you do want to be a spotlight or you know someone who has some unique property or something worth showcasing, let us know because we want to spotlight other fellow investors and put them on the map. Because when we raise one person up, we raise everyone else up at the same time because we can learn from you or we can make some new connections, things like that. So it's really about building people up at these meetups. Uh,
Absolutely.
and
I
if you
agree.
ever need have any questions regarding real estate, you want to buy a house with Jeremy, you want to do any of these things, like reach out to us and we're happy to help because we're here in Windsor, we're boots on the ground, we're in the thick of it, and we love our city.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
if anyone has any off markets or you're starting to want a wholesale and you want to help build your buyers list, Tom and I have a lot of connections and sometimes we might be the buyer. So we always say, hey, run it by us first. The quickest thing we'll tell you is what we kind of figure what it's worth, kind of
Absolutely.
give you yourself, give you an opinion
Hmm.
and then run with it, right?
Just this Monday, I walked in off market because someone had wondered what I thought of it. So exactly, we're happy to do that, and especially Jeremy, like he's been in the game way longer than I have. So we're we're here for you.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And those who are watching it afterwards, thank you for watching us. And if you haven't watched some of the other stuff we've done in the past, it's always good. We try to bring some type of knowledge. We do this for free. So we always just try to help each other out. And once if you can like, subscribe, follow us on our socials. Once again, I'm at Jeremy from Windsor on Instagram.
Hmm.
Follow our Facebook group, All Things REI. Tom, do you want to link your stuff?
Yep, T McCormick underscore. It's actually on our overlay here, just underneath
Oh, awesome.
our captions, our camera. But yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook groups, and even we're posting this on LinkedIn, so we're everywhere.
Our
But
meetups are getting massive too. So those are one things. If you haven't done it yet, you should come out. It's really cool because we have kind of two different sets of people that kind of show up. You have one set of people usually at the meets. Some of them trickle over, and then we usually have another set for the networking afterwards. So we have a bunch of people. If you want to come to both, you'll meet a bunch of different groups, and it's a really good time. Last time we did it at Ray Blanchard's property. It was a great time, great turnout at it. It was a good way to see what's going on in downtown Windsor. Then we
absolutely,
went over to the famous Bull and Barrel,
classic.
and we had a really good turnout there. And it was a wing night too, which made it even better.
Yeah, food's always good to bond over. But I think we've rambled on this outro long
We
enough. But
have.
we'll make it more concise next time. But yeah, follow us and then let us know any of your feedback, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night, everyone.